So I've been thinking about this for a while. Qingyi is rerunning, and I'm not sure how to treat this.
Worth?
Not worth.
Worth.
Not worth.
Meta police? That's a good bit. I'm stealing that right now. Meta police, open up. We're here to investigate a disturbance. We heard you were playing a not very meta character, and there could be a very meta character revealed in just a few weeks. Okay, I want to mention this up front because I think it is important. We are expecting Trigger to have the rest of her kit and be substantially buffed with the beta update. This beta update is a bit unique and a bit different than the others. They have taken down the beta client and are not putting it back up for 5 days, meaning we will not know what they are changing with Trigger, meaning we won't know what Trigger's more complete state will look like until after Qingyi has been rerunning for most of a week. I have to question if this is intentional or if it's just really poor timing. We'll say benefit of the doubt. Yes, the Qingyi rerun and Evelyn banners last 4 weeks. Don't be afraid to wait an extra week or two before pulling, because you may be very thankful for it. Now, that being said, Qingyi is currently very good with Harumasa and Jian. Now, we're going to talk about the kit. This is actually information we've already gone over, and I'm going to assume, even if you haven't watched my really ancient video about Qingyi, ancient 6 months ago, such a long time. Mr. Star, I don't feel so good. I don't feel so good. Yeah, in case you haven't seen it already, I don't want to talk your ear off, but I do want to briefly describe it. Qingyi's gameplay is very simple. You keep her on field, you spam basic attack, she goes crazy. You know what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. With her stick, she hits 14 times per second, but the skill value 7 times per second, but the day's damage 3.5 times per second, and the anomaly app an unknown amount. You know, Qingyi. Yeah, fun information. So as Qingyi attacks, she builds up battery charge, which is what I'm calling the bar under her HP. When it fills up, once it crosses the point, it becomes orange. When it is orange, she can hold basic attack, do this big poke, 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 shove the stick straight up there. When Qingyi shoves the stick up the enemy, they take additional damage from being stunned. Have you never thought about how Qingyi's kit actually works? That's what she does. She shoves her staff up the enemy and they go,
Oh my god, that hurts.
They become stunned and they take additional damage because they are so shocked. You think she just beats up enemies? It's not that deep. You're wrong. Do that twice. You can release it early to be used as a dodge counter. As she does the poke, 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 she builds up the stun multiplier. So new stuff. Since 1.1, they changed the way ultimates work. So Qingyi actually has a really useful ultimate attack. It refills her EMB or her battery bar. So you should always use it after you've used a enhanced basic attack or her poke, poke, poke. A Chainshead Moonlit Blossom. Qingyi applies a stun multiplier. At M0, she applies an 80% stun multiplier increase. At M2, she applies 114. I believe it's 114. It's an extra 30% of 80%. I believe it's 114. On a traditional enemy with a base 150% stun multiplier, this is 53% more damage on that enemy when they are stunned. So this makes Qingyi sound very good. The problem is this only applies when the enemy is stunned. It does not apply outside of stun, and you have to dedicate a lot of field time to Qingyi to apply this debuff. But that is Qingyi. That is what her teams are. That's what she does. Qingyi increases your damage by 53% when enemies are stunned. With Mindscapes, it is more. With her engine, it is slightly more. That is what Qingyi's kit is. That is who she is. That is her identity. That's also roughly how you play Qingyi. Cool. like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna try to do more Zenless content. More Genshin content is coming. Did you know most of you watching are not currently subscribed? You should subscribe. Now, since 1.1, traditional knowledge has changed a little bit about Qingyi. Let's talk about the engine situation. Previously, I had this long list of possible engines. You know what? I'm gonna simplify this for you, okay? Teapot, Restrain, Fossil Core. Don't use anything else. Sorry, no steam oven, no Damara engine. That's it. Teapot, Restrained, Fossil Core. Ice Jade Teapot is the signature. It's 20 damage bonus. It is a small buff, but it is a buff nonetheless. 21 final impact, which is technically the same as Restrained. Restrained gives normal attack damage bonus, which isn't useful. Qingyi doesn't really do any damage. And there's the Fossil Core, which is the free-to-play A-rank engine, and it's the one I recommend using the most. Good engine. Now, yeah, I'll address this here because I want to talk about it. Qingyi's M1, M2 are both better, both larger increases than her engine. If you are willing to spend 33% more pulls on average, you should go for her Mindscapes over her engine and use the Fossil Core. Fossil Core, very good.
Not worth?
Talk about drive sets. Qingyi's very forgiving on drives. As long as you have an impact slot 6, nothing else really matters. People have discussed not using impact slot 6. You know what I tell those people? Why are you playing Qingyi in the first place? I understand you want to do big damage on enemies while they are stunned. You know what else is cool? Killing the enemy. I'd like to do that more efficiently, please. Most people exist. Yeah, some people run Anomaly Mastery Qingyi for their Harumasa Miyabi team. What is new and what's actually worth considering is you do not have to use 4-piece Chalk Star Disco on your Qingyi. People have been using Astral Voice on Qingyi in combination with Swing Jazz on Nicole to get additional damage bonus and do more damage than they otherwise would be. You are stunning slower. That's okay. You are doing more damage, which means you may kill the enemy sooner or kill the enemy when you otherwise wouldn't be able to. It's very worth considering and it's very worth doing. Your experience may vary on whether or not it's better than Shockstar Disco, but we are led to believe that they're at least similar and it may be better.
Worth?
So that's all the build stuff for Qingyi. Now, I want to talk a little bit more conceptually about Qingyi, and I want to talk about some concerns. I mentioned it earlier. The issue with Qingyi really is her resources can't be generated off field. Qingyi needs to take a very active role on field for any team she is a part of. She just does. That's how she works. She also does not buff damage outside of stun, but that may not matter for the characters she is good with. Because of her very active presence, I think a lot of people really love playing Qingyi, and they're really happy to tell you about it. They're gonna scream from the rooftops, yes, I love Qingyi. I love playing Qingyi. I will not ever play a character without Qingyi. And I think that's awesome. I also have to acknowledge it because I think it's prevalent. People love Qingyi. She's very fun. She's very dodge centered, but people really view her as a comfort character. They don't like playing characters without her. Because of this, I feel like people can be very lost in the woods on how useful Qingyi may actually be. If you want to hear the words, Qingyi is universally good and very flexible. Qingyi is one of this game's few must-pull agents. I'm not going to tell you that because I don't think it's true. I'm sure you've seen many content creators espouse these words. I don't think it's correct. And I want to make my point. At the same time, I'm not going to tell you Qingyi is not worth or bad, because as we currently understand the game, it's not true. Let's start by going on a seemingly random tangent about characters named Venti and Silverwolf, who were fundamentally broken, flexible, work in any team, and are their respective must-pulls. Venti and Silverwolf are characters from version 1.0 and 1.1 of Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, respectively. They were both positioned the same way by their community, and they are both supports in teams. Because of limitations in theory crafting and player opinion/knowledge at the time, these characters were seen as the best in their respective games. And it was seen as a big deal. If you look back on Venti and Silverwolf with hindsight and our current knowledge of these games, Silverwolf and Venti were much more niche than people thought, or just straight up not very good. Not worth. I don't think Qingyi is as bad as Venti, but I do want people to know that there are possible common I do want people to know that common consensus around these characters at shift. And what we know today to be correct may not be correct tomorrow. I do not think Qingyi is genuinely bad. Worth? I think Qingyi is much more niche than you may think, and she is currently very useful for Harumasa and Jian. And really, not much else. And that's what I wanted to talk about. They could make future agents that do synergize with Qingyi. There's no guarantee that Qingyi will stop with Jian Harumasa, but there's also no guarantee she'll keep going. Those are her current use cases right now, and I want to mention that. So if you want to get more damage out of your Harumasa or your Jian, Qingyi is still good to go for. I just worry about how good she exactly is, and to a lesser extent, how good Harumasa and Jian are. We've seen a lot of Jians start running Nicole Astra and clearing as well or better than Qingyi teams. But this could just be a trend because of the Shiyu modifiers and like Deadly Assault modifiers. This is not necessarily a permanent or an indicator of something permanent, but it is a crack, if you know what I mean. Yeah, you know what I mean. So yes, I do think Qingyi is still quite good. I think Qingyi is specifically very good for Harumasa Jian. I don't exactly know how good Qingyi actually is. Qingyi is very prevalent in Shiyu defense speedrunning. She's not prevalent at all in Deadly Assault players. She's actually not very great for Deadly Assault. And because Qingyi only buffs damage during stun, you can argue Qingyi reinforces bad gameplay habits, which is only doing damage during stun, which is a habit that a lot of players fall into, and it's not necessarily correct. You need to do damage, you need to build resources outside of stun. With many characters. That does not apply to every character, but it does apply to many of them. I am not a believer in Jane Qingyi. I am not a believer in Evelyn Qingyi. I am not a believer in Ellen Qingyi. Sorry. I do think Qingyi has a very strong niche with Harumasa and Jian, and they could easily release more agents that play with Qingyi. Qingyi has a very good M1 and a very good M2. Qingyi is also super easy to play. Qingyi is a super common comfort character. Honestly, Qingyi is awesome. And if you just wanted to hear, yeah, Qingyi is still quite good. Yeah, Qingyi is still quite good. I just think she's much more niche than you might expect.